Welcome. Good Naben from wherever you're joining from. Wonderful and lovely to see so many bright faces from across the world. We have people joining us from Asia. I think I can see some from India and Pakistan, and some from the other end of the western coast of the United States of America. My name is Pradeep Yuvaraj, and I will be your facilitator for this workshop for the next 2 hours. The idea behind this workshop today is to do two things, or rather three things. One, to kind of give you a context into this whole competition, the global pitch competition. I'm sure a lot of you have a lot of questions in your minds about the competition per se, and also about being an entrepreneur in general. So we will try to answer those. Secondary objective is to give you insights into a pitch deck, because from the registrations and the forms that we have seen so far, we have realized that some of you are kind of way ahead in life. You're pretty mature as a startup. Some of you are just starting and kind of are struggling to put up a good pitch deck in place. So my job will be to see if I can help you give some kind of a framework, which I've called as the baker's dozen, because it's 13 slides that could make an ideal slide deck, primarily from the perspective of the competition, but also from the perspective of your long-term goals of being a startup and trying to raise money and all those things. I also have a lot of my colleagues from different TIE chapters on the call. We have Dr. Lopez from Atlanta, Ravi from Houston, David from Germany. I can see David from Portland and Oregon as well. And also the mentor of the year of TIE University, Amy Henry, is here in the house. Shout out to Amy. We have Craig from New York. We have Suhas from Tampa. We have Ajay from Pune. And Joy from Germany as well. So Samia from Houston. So quite a lot of people who are here who can answer some of the questions that you have. So if there's anything that you would like to know about the competition, please do put it in chat, preferably at the end, towards the end of the session, so that the mentors who are on the call can answer them. Let me start sharing screen. Who do I make my assistant today? Fatima, can you be my supporting faculty today? Right? Job is simple. When you see the screen, you just have to give me a thumbs up that you can see the screen. If my audio goes off, you just have to unmute and say, Pradeep, your audio is gone. Right?
Gotcha.
Cool. Thank you so much, Fatima. Wonderful. So the logic behind the name Baker's Dozen is that in the olden times in Britain, if the baker did not give the correct weight of a loaf of bread, they used to be flogged in the public. So what the bakers used to do is to throw in an extra or two slices of bread along with the bread, so that they did not get flogged. And that's how the term Baker's 13 came in. Baker's Dozen came in. So it is not a dozen, but it's actually 13. And today's workshop, I'm trying to give you 13 slides that could make an ideal pitch deck, so that you are able to pitch in this competition as well as pitch to investors in the future. My name is Pradeep Yuvaraj. I'm a storyteller. My day job is to build presentations for startups from across the world. We work with startups in all the 7 continents, including Antarctica. And what I'm trying to do is to summarize some of those experiences today. I'm also a charter member of TIE Coimbatore, as well as the lead volunteer for the TIE University program for the public relations. Before we start off, I just wanted to give you this email ID, which can be your common go-to email ID for all your queries relating to competition beyond today's workshop and beyond everything else. So any question that you have, any challenge that you're facing with respect to the competition, I would request you to send a mail to this, and you will get an answer within 12 hours flat. Dr. Lopez, can I request you to probably talk to the next 2 slides to give an insight onto what TIE is and what this competition is?
Absolutely. TIE organization, we are in our 30th year, so 30th anniversary this year. Back in 1992, a group of folks in Silicon Valley, where we're headquartered, chose to say, how do we give back? We've been so privileged, et cetera. They created TIE as a way to foster entrepreneurship globally. We actually say globally, because that way then you can hopefully feel the TIE organization at the chapter located where you are, of which there are currently 58 such chapters across a dozen different countries. And in that regard, Pradeep, you've gone off the slide. So no worries. And in that regard, you'll be participating with a local, one of these local chapters. With the best part of the TIE University program and our secret sauce is what is called our level of members named charter members. They are actually seasoned entrepreneurs. You'll be using their experiences, et cetera, hopefully in a way that we'll talk about in a future workshop. But welcome. And again, we work across, when people say, what is fostering entrepreneurship? The right side of the chart says we do it through what I call 5 pillars. The Thai University program actually spans all 5 pillars. And in that regard, as you get to know us, or if you already know us, welcome to Thai Global. Back to you, Pradeep.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lopez. The Thai University is primarily an ecosystem that was formed to help students like you and younger entrepreneurs from colleges and universities kind of find a ground where they can grow themselves as entrepreneurs. When I graduated out of college a couple of decades ago, entrepreneurship was not even on the top of my chart. But today, if we were to go to a classroom anywhere in the world, I think 50% of students want to be an entrepreneur rather than being someone employed. And the idea behind the Thai University ecosystem is to kind of give you all the different things that a young entrepreneur needs, whether it is mentoring, whether it is access to investments, whether it is access to learning and educational initiatives as well. The way it works out is you are fostered in the ecosystem by giving you the fundamentals relating to entrepreneurship. Then you are given the management skills and the business skills that you would need as a business leader running your own startup or your own company, giving you access to unlimited mentoring. And this is kind of the core of the Thai University ecosystem. Mentoring, which is primarily getting to talk one-on-one with entrepreneurs who have been there, done that, people who have learned from their experiences in life, people whom getting their appointments might take you a couple of weeks are now available at your kind of beck and call to answer your queries and help you move forward. And then building these opportunities in network, like for example, today you're on a call with 50 other students and entrepreneurs from across the world. This is your opportunity to probably find a co-founder, to finally find a partner who could help your business grow forward. And of course, finally, the global platforms like this competition that you're part of, where you can showcase your ideas, your business, your thought process, and the world can sit up and look at you. I think this is very succinctly summarized by this team, which was the winner of this competition in 2020. And they said that if it were not for Thai University, our idea would have been just that, an idea. But because of the Thai University ecosystem, today it is a thriving company. So a lot of us have ideas when we're in college or in university, but in the run that we call life, sometimes that idea gets left behind. The job of people like David and Dr. Lopez and Ravi as entrepreneurs is to give back to you guys and see if we can make that idea see the light of the day and become a real good startup. Whether you become a unicorn, we do not know, but at least can we make you a sustainable business? Then we have done our job. All the stuff that I'm talking about and many of the things you need to know about the competition is there in the Thai University Blue Book. You would have got a mail with the link to the Blue Book. If you haven't got it yet, Aryan, why don't you put it on chat? It's bit.ly/ThaiU Blue Book, which has everything that you need to know about this competition and also learning material relating to the competition. So like I said, this is a global competition. There are people, students joining in from different parts of the world. Primarily a competition focused towards mentoring, networking, and educating you on aspects relating to entrepreneurship. And what's the icing on the cake? The winner gets to take away $50,000 in cash prize, no strings attached. So it's equity-free cash prize of $50,000 for the winner of the global competition, and over $100,000 worth of cash prizes across, and around $500,000 worth of in-kind prizes in the form of different services and consulting opportunities that you can take forward. But overall, what does the ecosystem give you? Like I said, the central piece is mentoring, but you also get scholarships to be a member of Thai in your local city, part of global competitions, boot camps, prize monies and other in-kind awards, networking with entrepreneurs and all that. At this point, I want to hold for a second. A lot of you would have this query as to what is this chapter that I'm repeating. And this was also on the East call that I had around 6 hours ago. So a chapter is nothing but like a subset of the large network that we have of entrepreneurs, which is city-based. So if Atlanta is a chapter, then there are entrepreneurs from the Atlanta and Georgia region who come together to form Thai Atlanta. So it's primarily a network, inside a network of entrepreneurs from the region that you are geographically presented in. Abhishek, the blue book is shared with everyone. You can just click on it and it's open and accessible to everyone. So how the competition is going to run? We are already in the team formation part. Today is today is a deadline for the last registrations. During February and March, depending upon where you are, there might be different mentoring programs. Let me be very specific. Some of the things will be very specific to each chapter, depending upon the number of participants. So you will have to reach out to your local chapter and find out what's it that's planned for you. And then in March, by 31st of March, you will have a local final. The winner of the local final is the person who, or the team that moves to the global finale. And during the April and May time, you will be part of a global cohort where you get to be mentored by global entrepreneurs and global mentors. And then we will have the finals and semi-finals in mid-May, most probably as a hybrid mode, or right now with the way Omicron is playing havoc, it might be a fully virtual event. So fingers crossed to see if we can kind of do some kind of a hybrid event. The judging criteria for the competition is there in the blue book. I'm just showing it to you so you know how it looks like. I will not go into the detail right now. What are those criteria? What do they mean? Again, it's there in the blue book. So that's about the blue book. And now is the time for you to raise your collars up, because you are now part of probably the Olympics of entrepreneurship or collegiate entrepreneurship in the world. You are part of a cohort where 1,077 teams from 2,707 with 2,700 participants from 16 different countries are part of this competition. Maybe let me get the latest number. So that's 1,078 and 2,714 students from 16 different countries of the world. So that itself is a matter of pride for you, that you are part of a competition where you're competing with entrepreneurs from 16 different countries. So you are as close to the Olympics as it gets today. And congratulations for taking that first step into going forward. So we'll get into the workshop. But before I get into the workshop, I want to put Ajay on spotlight for a minute. Ajay is the faculty for the next workshop. So Ajay, it's kind of late for Ajay where he is in Pune. So Ajay, if you can just take a minute to tell what you're going to be doing in the next workshop, then I can continue with my part. Ajay, all yours.
Hi everyone. Good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you are. So our next workshop is going to be on the business model canvas, where we are going to be covering the fundamental framework that is covered in a book which is called Business Model Generation. If any of you have had exposure to that earlier, fantastic. If not, if you have the opportunity, do pick up the book. The name of the book is Business Model Generation and by Alexander Osterwelder. That is something that we're going to cover. It's going to be an introductory session, help you to put together what would be a great approach towards your business model. So look forward to seeing you all next week. Thank you.
Thank you, Ajay. And I don't know whether you noticed, David was showing off his books. David, I think it's time for both of us to show off our books. So yeah, that's the book that we're talking about. And this is what Ajay will be handling for you in the next workshop. Wonderful. Let me remove Ajay from spotlight and let me put myself. I sound kind of narcissistic trying to put myself in the spotlight. Wonderful. So I have myself in the spotlight. Let me do my screen share.
And while you're doing that, Pradeep, just to let people know, you could put real-time questions in chat now, but we will also have an optional stay-over breakout session for Q&A when we're done with this particular workshop at the back end.
Cool. Fatima, can you see the screen? Give me a thumbs up. Where's my friend Fatima? Cool. Wonderful. So let's get into the baker's dozen. My name is Pradeep Yuvaraj. I am a storyteller. The reason I call myself a storyteller is at the end of the day, everything that we do can be summarized into a story. And if you use stories as the medium of communication, you can really do wonders in your life. We're going to cover three things today. One, I will talk to you about why perspective matters. The way you look at things is very important. It's kind of the foundation of you becoming a better entrepreneur. The second part I would like to cover is from a book called Made to Stick, as to why certain messages stick to people and why certain don't. For you as a startup pitching your idea, what you really want is that your idea has to be stuck in the judge's mind or the audience's mind, that when they go back home, they still remember you and remember your idea. What can you do to make your idea stick to people is what we will talk. And finally, the tactical part, it'll be more like a framework that you can use, the ingredients of a the key ingredients of a good pitch deck that can help you win. What am I going to do? I'm going to summarize 22 years of my personal life experience, having worked with startups. I worked with almost 600 plus startups across the world. The experience that I've had with them. I worked with 40 plus investors from various networks, the experiences from there, and the 10 years of my experience having worked for large companies like ExxonMobil and Shell. I will try to summarize all that into today's 90 minutes so that you are able to take back something that will be with you for your life. As I always like to do with my workshops, what I want to do is, one second, I have on. Fatima, you'll have to tell me when you are able to hear the sound, okay? Put my show video panel, perfect. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear the audio. Cool. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put a song. I want you to close your eyes, take a deep breath, forget everything, forget your bills, forget your college submissions, assignments, faculty, PhD, project, licensing, taxation, everything, and just take a deep breath and focus on your breath and just be in the present. Forget everything else. Take a deep breath, and I'll tell you why this particular song as well. Go ahead, close your eyes. Close your eyes.
அதயங்கொரு காட்டிலோர் பொந்திடை வைத்தேன் அக்னி குஞ்சொன்று கண்டேன் அதயங்கொரு காட்டிலோர் பொந்திடை வைத்தேன் வெந்து தணிந்தது காடு வெந்து தணிந்தது காடு தழல் வீரத்தில் குன்றென்றும் மூப்பென்றும்
Cool. Open your eyes. The idea behind putting the song is multi-pronged. One, also for us to, kind of realize how fast a life we all lead, that 90 seconds seems like eternity to close your eyes and sit relaxed in front of a Zoom call. But more importantly, these are lines from a poet from my city where I belong to, a language called Tamil. There's an anecdote also that I would like to share. We are the oldest language in the world. Yes, Tamil is the oldest language, even older than English. It's the oldest spoken language in the world. It's called a classical language. The poet writes that I took an ember of fire. I took a small spark of fire and I placed it deep inside the bark of a tree in the forest. And the next day morning, when I came back, the entire forest was burned to ashes. What he meant is that that is the power of youth. That is the power of youngsters, that although you look like a small spark, you have the power to engulf an entire forest and burn it down. He used it for the Indian freedom struggle when we were fighting the Britishers to get freedom. But for you as entrepreneurs, I think that is the power of your idea. Today, it may look like just a spark, but it has the power to change the world, make the world a better place. Don't ever forget that, because there will be times in entrepreneurship when you will go deep into valleys, to the bottom of the pit. And that time you have to remember that this spark can any day, with the right mentoring, with the right fostering, actually become a fire that can engulf everything and make the world a better place. So with that note, I wanted to start off. There's a disclaimer as well that I would like to start off. Disclaimer number one is everything that I say today is 100% correct and everything that I say is 100% wrong. So please don't take me verbatim. Put it into the perspective of your own life, put it into the perspective of your own startup and see if it fits the bill. Second disclaimer is I'm in a tight spot, that I'm in a group of startups where some of you are very mature, but some of you are just starting off. So I am trying to address the needs of the student who's at the early stage rather than the student at the mature stage. So some of you may feel a little disconnected. Please forgive me for that. And the third is, although I will try to give you examples that could relate to your geographical regions, but sometimes being the Indian that I am, I may come up with Indian examples, and that's where I'll probably use Dr. Lopez and David to give me, and Amy to give me some relevant examples that could be from the world. So Amy, Dr. Lopez and David, you can always interrupt, unmute and share in some ideas if you want. Ravi as well. Cool. So let's start off with perspective matters and why it matters. Can I request all of you to take a sheet of paper and a pen? You will need, or a pencil or whatever that you want to have. Just a sheet of paper and pen. I sound like your 5th grade teacher, right? Sheet of paper. Where are your notebooks? Wonderful. So let's do some exercise for the kidney. Oh, I'm sorry, the brain. Can you please draw the outline of what you see on the screen on your notebook? Don't do the shading, just draw the outline. Just the outline alone. Yeah. Just the outlines, just draw that on your sheet of paper. Good, Aryan, now the annotation is working. In the afternoon session, we were not able to annotate. Wonderful. So if you've done, cool. Done. Eugene from Oregon. Good. One of my favorite towns in the Thai University pitch competition. One of my best friends from the competition is in Oregon. I'll tell you about them. It's a wonderful company called WXH. Okay. Can you please divide the blue part into 2 equal similar looking parts? Divide the blue into 2 equal similar looking parts. So it should be the same in size and it should be the same in shape. Into 2 equal similar looking parts. The blue alone. Done? Vinish from Boston, done? Yeah, can you show it to me on the screen? So I know, done? No, the drawing. Kamran, तुम्हारा virtual background बंद करना पड़ेगा, नहीं तो दिखेगा नहीं. Cool. Okay, wonderful. So this is what my friend Vinish has done, and I'm assuming all of you have done the same thing. Cool. Now please divide the green into 3 equal similar looking parts. Divide the green into 3 equal similar looking parts. Done. Hey, Sebastian, how are you?
Doing well.
Andre, can you just prefix your name with the name of your city or town from where you are? Cool. Anyone who's done it? Yes, Fatima, you done? Okay. Kamran, say once again, Kamran. No, 3 parts, Kamran. I need you to divide it into 3 parts. You have divided it into 2 parts. 3 parts. Teen bhagon mein bato. Anyone else who's done? Joe, Jade, Eugene, you'll have to bring it a little closer. I can't see it. Cool. Okay, so I'm assuming this is the answer that most of you have got. Yes. Wonderful. Now please divide the red into 4 equal similar looking parts. I repeat, divide the red into 4 equal similar looking parts. Divide the red into 4 equal similar looking parts. This is kind of my way of giving back to my engineering degree because I failed engineering graphics 3 times and I passed it only on the 4th attempt. So, yes, Kirsten from Atlanta, you done? Anyone who's done, if you've done, just show it to me on the screen so I know you've done. Jochen, am I pronouncing your name right? Jochen or Jochen? Where is Jochen? I can't see Jochen. Who's that? Okay, David, no. So what my friend David from Oregon has done is, oops, where is my annotation? Yeah. Let me change the color. So David has done this, but if you look at this and this are the same, and this are the same. I want all the 4 to be equal and similar looking. I want all the 4 to be equal and similar looking. Who's that? Kamran, you have divided. So what Kamran has done is oops, why is my annotation taking so much time today? Yeah, so this is what Kamran has done. But Kamran, if you look at it, you have divided a larger rectangle into 3 rectangles and 1 square. I want all the 4 to be equal and similar looking. Eugene from Oregon has done something which again is not right because what has Eugene done? Oops, why is my annotation taking so much time? So this is what Eugene has done. But if you look at it, again, 1, 1 and 2, 2. But all the 4 are not equal and similar looking. I want all the 4 to be equal and similar looking. What La Cherichia? How are you, La? Is that SG for Singapore, Cherry? Can Cherry hear me? She can't. Anyone? No one? What is it? I thought we have the best startups from the American and the European and the Asian continent here in the call, and we're all struggling with one small drawing. So I'll give it to you because we're short of time. The answer is here, right? So part 1, part 2, part 3, and part 4. And I know some of my friends are going, oh, I knew this. I just didn't do it. And yes, Fatima, right? Now please divide the yellow into 7 equal similar looking parts. The yellow into 7 equal similar looking parts. The yellow into 7 equal similar looking parts. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stop. Can I see both the hands up in the air? All your hands up in the air, both the hands. I want to see both the hands. Arun, this is a good time for a photo. Take a screenshot. If I were to, don't put your hands down till I tell you, okay? If I were to ask this to my nephew who's in 5th grade, he would say, Uncle, what is this? Such a simple question you're asking me. So easy. All you need to divide a square into 7 parts is to draw 6 parallel lines, either this way or this way, right? And here we are all so-called entrepreneurs solving the world's problem. Put it down, Waldo Jade. Put your hands down. Thank you. So-called entrepreneurs trying to solve the world's problem who are struggling to do something that a 5th grader could do. Do you agree with me? Yes or no? Shake your head if you agree with me, right? So as they say in primary school, kindergarten, shame, puppy shame, right? So we were not able to do it. My question to all of you is why? Why do you think you were not able to do something that a 5th grader could do? Put it on chat, please. Why do you think we were not able to do something? And I say we because the first time I was not able to do it either myself. Why are we not able to do it? Overcomplicating, great. More coffee. Yeah, we think too hard. Order 1 coffee for me as well. Complex to extremely simple task. Perspectives. Yes, Benjamin. Anything else? Hi, Mahesh from Mysuru. Good evening. Shiv Shankar from Mysuru is also here. We have Dave from Silicon Valley. Already exhausted. Oh, wow. Exhausted with what, Kritika? Giving answers or exhausted in life?
In life.
In life? Oh, Kritika, what? On a weekend you're saying this? Or probably it's because it's a weekend. You're exhausted from your late night party yesterday, right?
Exactly.
Wonderful. Okay, because we forgot to kiss. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So if I were to summarize the lessons from this exercise, and these lessons are very pertinent for you from the perspective of being a storyteller, being someone who's going to pitch in front of people who do not understand what you're trying to do. Lesson number 1 is we all have, for some odd reason, because of our education, irrespective of where in the world, okay, whether you follow the American system or the Waldorf system or the Cambridge system or the Montessori system, for some odd reason, our education system has made us become people who are more happier complicating things rather than simplifying them, because we have subconsciously believed that when things are more complex, they are great, but when things are more simpler is when they actually do wonders and change the world. Every single entrepreneur is just a person who's making life simple for someone else, and we tend to forget that, right? So lesson number 1, try to keep your messaging as simple as possible. Don't worry about dumbing it down. Don't worry about looking like a rustic person, because if every person in the room doesn't understand what you're saying, then you have lost the opportunity to make a change or difference to the world. Lesson number 2 is the ability to look at things from all the perspectives. Take the sheet of paper that you drew in such a way that you're facing the drawing. Take the sheet so that you're facing the drawing yourself. Look at the drawing. And now rotate it 90 degrees anti-clockwise. Rotate it 90 degrees anti-clockwise. I have done it for you. Kamran, apni taraf rakho. Look at it from your side, right? I've drawn it on my screen. If you ignore the yellow part, the answer to the 3rd problem was right there in your sheet. Just look at it. Just ignore the square and the answer to the 3rd problem was right there in front of you. But because none of us rotated that sheet and saw it from all perspectives, we were only focused on solving the problem rather than looking at it from all perspectives. To be a wonderful storyteller, you have to start looking at things from all perspectives. To be a wonderful business leader, you have to start thinking, because you will have 10 people reporting to you and all the 10 of them will be thinking in different ways. You have to look from every perspective to make things right and to make things better. And number 3, the habit of assuming, which someone I think very sneaky of you Yes, Benjamin, my friend. Kamran from Islamabad says the mind was expecting it to be more complex, right? So you assume that the third one was difficult, so the fourth one will be even more difficult, right? Making an ass out of you and me. Stop assuming things, because assumptions will never take you anywhere. And my first business was a failure. I lost around 4 million Indian rupees in that business because I assumed that there was a market for my product. I never did any market research. I started the company, I got trained, I got the inventory. But do you know, after 9 months, how much I sold? Zero, because I made a very wrong assumption, or rather I made an assumption that people will buy what I'm trying to sell. So the common thing I see in startups is assumption about market sizes. They think there are 100,000 people in Oregon. Out of 100,000, 50% are women. All women are my customers. So in the first year, I will have 10,000 customers. Second year, I'll have 20,000 customers. But when I'm sure Amy will vouch for it, when you really see that on paper, that 100 and the 1,000 and 50,000 becomes 5 and 10. Right? It's not an easy job to sell. So don't assume, especially in entrepreneurship, because the more you assume, the more you're making an ass out of yourself and myself. Try to find the facts, go deep into it, and solve it. Cool. So 3 lessons that I wanted to remember. 1, try to simplify things. Try to look at things from a very simple perspective. Number 2, look at things from a 360-degree perspective before you take any action. Look at it from all perspectives, from your customers, from gender, from religion, from whatever perspective you want to look at it. Look at it from every perspective before you take action. And finally, stop assuming. Find facts and start working. Cool. So we are at 10:07. Perfect. Now I get into the second part. Excuse me. The second part of my workshop, which is to give you lessons from a very wonderful book called Made to Stick and why certain messages stick, right? So Made to Stick was written by 2 professors from the United States, Chip and Dan Heath, who researched various different speakers and leaders and wanted to understand why is it that something like I have a dream has stuck to all of us for so long, but something like the speech that probably the president Joe Biden gave during his presidency inauguration did not stick to you. Why is it that certain messages stick and why is it that certain don't stick, right? So that's the thesis of the book. What they have done is they have summarized into an acronym called SUCCESS, SUCES, to help you remember what are the key elements of any message that make them stick to people's mind. And that's what I'm going to do to now try to tell you. But for you, this line kind of summarizes the gist of the whole book, that to make our communications more effective, we need to switch our thinking from what information do I need to tell to what information do I want my audience to ask. You know, the fundamental of this is that many times when I and Eugene and McKenna and Joyce and Samia present to audiences, we want to tell what we know. I am this, I am that, my company is that, my team is this, we have done that. But rarely do we look at what is it that they want. The moment you shift that thinking to what is it that they want and cater to it, your audience will be all yours and you will be able to achieve more. Reason? We are all selfish beings. All of us come into the room asking one simple question: what's in it for me? Did any of you come here today saying that, okay, I just want to go and spend 2 hours of my life because Thai University is doing something? That's all. No. You came here because you wanted something back. You came here asking a question, what will I get out of this workshop? So the acronym is SUCCESS, and I will kind of take 10 minutes to help you go through it. But for you to understand the book more, and maybe can I ask David to probably put the link for that book from any one website. I have not named Amazon, otherwise you'll think that I'm getting commission from Amazon. It's called Made to Stick by Chip Heath and Dan Heath. So number 1, they say that any message, for it to stick, it has to be simple. You have to find the core of the message. It's like peeling an onion, layer after layer, peel the whole thing, and then come to what's left, and that has to be your message. For you, all of you in the US, I think Southwest Airlines is your budget airline, right? You know what's the message for Southwest Airlines? We are the budget airline, right? So now what happens is every employee remembers that we are the budget airline, and each and every decision that he or she takes is with that insight in her mind because it's been simplified. They didn't say it, they didn't give a tagline saying that we want to be like the leading budget airline in the world. No, we are the budget airline. So if I am an air hostess and I'm going to be spending X dollars on buying some new equipment for the airline, I will ask my question, will this make my airline stay the budget airline? And if the answer is no, I may not take the question. So that's what is simplification of the core. Find what is the core of your idea. Find what is the core of your startup. What are you trying to do for the world? Like, for example, my business is building PowerPoints, but the core is I help founders and CEOs save quality time that they can invest in business development while my team builds a PowerPoint for them. Right? We are not in the business of building PowerPoints. We are in the business of saving time for people. So try to find out that core of your entrepreneurial venture. And if you can bring that core out in your communication, it will stick to people. Number two, messages stick are unexpected, because the best way to get anyone's attention is to break the patterns, right? Like in the previous example we did, I broke the pattern. When I said from the 3 parts to the 7 parts, 4 parts to the 7 parts, you were thinking there were different shapes that you wanted to draw. But I broke the pattern saying that there's a simpler answer to the whole thing. And what did it do? It made each one of you mentally at least sit up and look at me and see, okay, there's something like this. Those of you who have learned movie making or who follow screenplay writing, if you look at I'm an electronics engineer, so I talk in the language of waveforms. If you look in a movie, usually there's a flat waveform. The story is like going on. The hero gets up, takes a shower, takes his car, goes to office, comes back. He again next day wakes up, takes the car, goes to office, comes back. But the third day he takes the car and suddenly there's black smoke coming out of the car, right? So now what's happened? The pattern, earlier there was a pattern set in your mind. And now what the director does is he makes the wave into a square wave or a spike, and the pattern is changed. And now what happens? The audience looks up saying, oh, wow, what happened next, right? And that's how movies are made. That's how stories are told. You bring in the unexpected by breaking a pattern. I'll give you an example from a team from Atlanta, which recently was part of the Thai University ecosystem. And my team worked with her, and this is how we came up with this whole idea. Did you know that every 8 minutes, one Indian woman dies of cervical cancer? Okay. When I tell you the statement, what happens to you? I can see the reaction on Fatima's face, right? Really? Oh my God. Okay. Let me now translate that into a different number. 64,000 Indian women die in a year because of cervical cancer. Does it give you the same reaction as one woman every minute? It doesn't, because it's kind of a broader number. There's not much perspective. But the moment I give you a shocking conversion, and if you do the math, you will find out that 64,000 is equal to one woman every 8 minutes. Then what happened? People in the room sit up and start watching. So you have broken the pattern. And then you said, did you know that it's the only cancer that actually has a vaccine as well? And most women in most second world and third world countries do not have access to that vaccine. Right? Then what happens is the audience is now sitting up because they expected something to come as a pattern. I broke the pattern, and now the audience is listening to me with full attention. Number 3, make statements that are concrete. Avoid abstract statements saying that we will break the enemy's spine and win the war. No, I will say that I want to be on post number 1403 and make sure there's not one enemy soldier on the post. That's a concrete statement. Breaking the enemy's spine could be anything. It's like those SMART goals that your professors would have taught you, right? You make generic statements and they don't mean anything to you. But the moment you give concreteness to it, I can talk about great performance, or I can tell the V8 engine. The moment I give you a V8 engine, your mind is visually able to imagine what I'm trying to tell in abstract terms. Talk to people in concrete terms and not in abstract terms. I have one more example. I'm sure all of you who are seeing this, most of you would remember what this is, right? This is a proverb that says, most people who do not like to do hard work give excuses, right? But how did our parents or our school teacher teach this? They said there was a fox which went and tried to get the grapes. It was not able to reach the grapes. So it said the grapes are sour, and it came back, right? It's an abstract concept that your 5-year-old you would not have understood. Excuses, people who are lazy, these are words that you do not understand. But you understand what a fox is, you understand what a grapes is. And I gave you concreteness, and that's the reason that concrete message stuck to you for so far. Number 4, make your messages credible. How do you make things credible? If Pradeep Yuvaraj says that there is something called success, the possibility of these 54 people listening to me is or at least agreeing to me is like only 10%. But when Pradeep Yuvaraj says that Chip Heath and Dan Heath, professors from the United States of America, have written a book and they say this, then there's credibility built into my statement. So when you make statements in your startup pitch, give credibility by referring to research books or referring to other people who have done similar things, referring to people of authority or institutions of authority, which can validate whatever you're trying to say. I'm sure a lot of us have been recipients of those spam emails, right? Today at 12:45 p.m., do not go out into the sun because NASA has said that the ultraviolet rays of the sun are very extraordinary today and you may get burned, right? And I know it sounds silly, but many of us actually have fallen for it because NASA has said it, really? And then after some time, your left brain kicks in and says, well, doesn't NASA have anything else to do in life rather than tell people when to go out and when not to go out, right? But you see, the statement, by using that single word saying NASA, kind of builds in credibility. So when you are pitching to investors, build in credibility by saying that this is after researching with 100 people. And here is the list of the 100 people that I researched. Just don't make statements out of the thin air. Number 5, make it emotional. Like I said, you and I are human beings. We may think that we are all stone-hearted or I am stone-hearted or whatever. But at the end of the day, we tend to take decisions based on what the heart says, although we are driven by what the mind says. I'll give you a classical example for you to understand this. Mother Teresa once said that give me the mass and I may not do anything. Give me the one and I can act. I'll set this context for you. There are 500,000 children in Africa who do not have 1 square meal a day. Can you please contribute right now on the chat? I'll put a link. Can you give me $1 to help them? Okay. New context. Meet Pradeep. He's a starved boy from a small city in Nigeria who has not had 1 square meal, more than 5 meals in the last 10 days. Will you want to help Pradeep? Okay. Think deep and tell me, in which context do you think you would have acted? You would have acted in the second context because in your mind, I gave you a visual form of some person who's suffering and you wanted to help that person because you know that your $1 will help Pradeep. But you do not know what your $1 will do with those 500,000 people. You are not able to imagine the mass. And that's why when you bring in real people into the story, when you talk about real human beings who are struggling with the problems that you guys are solving as entrepreneurs, then the audience is able to emotionally connect with it. Rather than saying that 10,000 people, 100,000 people are struggling without this particular product, go ahead and say that Dr. Paul Lopez from Atlanta is struggling with this particular gap in his business, and this is what I'm trying to solve. Because now the audience has the context, they're able to visualize a person called Paul, and they see, okay, so Paul has this problem, so maybe this could be a problem that we need to solve, right? Cool. The more personal the context, the more engagement may result. Thank you so much, Paula. And finally, always try to tell stories. I'm sure over the last 10, 15 years, you have been bombarded with people telling storytelling. But what is storytelling really? Storytelling is nothing but making it human, as simple as that. Nothing else. It is making anything, any goddamn abstract concept into something that every human can understand. Simple. If you can do that, you have done your job. So the Aesop's fables are nothing, but they made abstract concepts into humanly understandable concepts by building stories into them. As simple as that. So to reiterate what the Chip and Dan Heath have said, keep your message simple, strip it down to the core, bring in some unexpected element. Excuse me. Bring in some concreteness, bring in credibility, have an emotional context, and build the whole thing into the form of a story. If you can do this, you have achieved everything that you want to achieve. Numbers don't matter, statistics don't matter. At the end of the day, it's a story that really matters. And I have a few actual real investors who are here, although they all look at numbers and statistics to take decisions, but at the end of the day, it's that story which is really making them sit up and ask you questions. And like we said, it is the questions that you want them to ask, because the moment they start asking the questions that you want to be asked, you are in a better position than them and you can move ahead, right? So it's 10:20 p.m. in my time here. We will take a 7-minute break, go take a walk, take a deep breath, go to the toilet, have a coffee, whatever, do some exercise, and let's catch back one another in exactly 7 minutes. And for those of you who are on the call, can I ask my friend Ravi Brahmbhatt, who's the in-house DJ of Thai University, to put on some good music? Go for it, Ravi. Yeah. Step away and take a walk and come back.
I think, Paul, that Pradeep is a grand entertainer.
He's in the right business today. I don't know why he used to work for Shell Oil once upon a time, right?
Absolutely. I'm trying to figure out what question can I ask him.
I'll put the recording on. Just hold for a moment. There's no need for us to. Oh, I don't know. Maybe Ariane can. It's okay. Go ahead, David.
Do you have a suggestion?
If you have anybody has questions and you didn't step away, I've already got my iced coffee, so I'm staying on for the 6 minutes. Feel free to put it in chat. Plus, we'll have a optional Q&A time at the end. Go ahead, David.
I'm trying to figure out what question to ask. I just want to start the question by saying, I'm David from Antarctica. Now the question has to come. Because he said he's in 7 continents, including Antarctica.
Okay, we'll ask him later. No worries. All good.
Okay.
Yeah, congratulations, Ravi. I think you may now be headed to be the largest chapter from the US with number of teams, right? Or at least Texas will be. So congratulations. We're not hearing your music, by the way. So
no,
you're not doing your DJ job. There you go. Awesome.
We can ask Craig from New York to sing a nice song.
That would be our backup. But Ravi, a little more on volume. A little more, not much. Awesome. Yeah, in fact, I think, Ravi, let's go look and see how Houston and others are doing. Satyajit's on the call, so I know Texas is in good shape, right? Houston has 18 teams. Congratulations. No, Boston has 21. You still got some catching up to do.
Because there are so many Texans on the hall, I have my Texas hat on.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Aditya, what location in Odisha? Maybe Pradeep would know. What chapter did you pick when you applied? If you could let us know that, or take yourself off mute, I'm not sure. We'll take everybody off mute at the end. So Kolkata, India, yeah. So that will be you pick the chapter, so you will be connected with Thai Kolkata, which, by the way, is my hometown. I went to St. Xavier's College over there. They will determine if it's okay. We've got teams of 3s and 2s and 5s and 4s and 1s, but they will work with you in the upcoming week. Right now, it's probably whatever you submitted is the default. Okay. Not sure if I'm answering your question. We'll open up mics for everybody, or you can maybe see if you can. Ariane, are people on mute unless they're allowed to come on, or you might know? So, when we look at the team sizes, I'll show you all the team sizes so you don't feel off our close to 1,078 teams currently. When we look at what it is on a worldwide basis, here you can see 347 are 1s all the way to teams of 5. So by and large, the default is however you applied. But you can work with your chapter if you want to do any kind of combinations, right? In this upcoming week or so. I saw that question from Aditya. No? Yes, Karlsruhe in Deutschland. The recording will actually be on a private YouTube channel that we will provide to the chapters, and they in turn will share with you, and also people who weren't on the call today. So we sort of got a library of items that will be video stuff that is will be available. David, have you met Karlsruhe yet or not?
Of
yet?
course, I've met them. Nancy
No?
and Kamlesh, a very interesting startup in electrical vehicles. And Kamlesh and Nancy, if you're listening, come forth. I've written a lot of notes I'll gladly share with you. Actually, I suggest
Awesome.
writing notes by making screenshots and adding some comments. And that's the way you can review easy.
Awesome.
Some of you are putting direct messages to me, so
Prefer that you write them to all panelists and everyone on list, because that way then everybody can see them, right? Pradeep?
yeah,
Doesn't-
put all the questions on the comment chat so that everyone can answer, and especially because I am right now on the call, I may not be able to look at the chat. So yeah, I also did a dress change because I realized I should wear my Thai University t-shirt. So yeah.
There you go. Awesome. Your storytelling. I don't know what your name is, but I think it's Midhat from Yasin from Lahore. How many teams have applied in total? It's currently 1,078 and it's going up still. It'll likely pass 1,100 since the deadline is approaching. And the applications were self-selection. So as long as you put it in, and if you read the blue book, it'll tell you what your chapters are doing as they may choose to shortlist. So I think Lahore is
Cool.
in the Thai Islamabad, Pakistan chapter. So check out
Wonderful.
the blue book. Back to you, Pradeep.
Wonderful. So back to the session. Of course, like I said, there are some questions that you have, and you can ask those questions at the end of today's call. We will stay on for 15 to 20 minutes of discussion. Some of you who are from Germany, we will put you into a breakout room with the team from Germany. Some of you are from Houston. We will put you into a breakout room with the Houston team. You can ask questions specific to your geography. Remaining everyone else, you can stay on this call. You can ask all different questions that you have in your mind relating to the competition. We are here for you. Eric, yes, the last year, one of the finalists was a non-profit from Dubai. I think the team was called Small Wonders or something on those lines. And they also won the Social Entrepreneurship Award as well last year. Of course, they didn't win the competition, but they did win the Social Entrepreneurship Award. Perfect. So we get back to the last part or the third part of my workshop, which is, that's the video panel. Where's my video panel? Wonderful. Cool. So the structure of a winning pitch deck, like I said, this is kind of a guideline. Don't hold me to it. This is the universally accepted structure that any investor or any pitch would expect you to have. These are 13 slides that I've articulated today. Sometimes when I say 13 slides, it does not mean 13 slides, but it means 13 concepts. So one slide could also mean 2 or 3 slides, or 2 slides could become 1 as well. But broadly, if you can get this whole structure into your presentation deck, then I think you would have articulated your business idea in a much, much better way. And if you want to learn more about this, on the blue book, there's a chapter which talks about, with a link to everything that I'm going to talk today, with the presentation as well as with wordy explanations to those things that you see on the slide. Wonderful. So my question to all of you, before I get into the next part, is what is the purpose of a pitch deck? Or rather, let me rephrase it. What is the final objective of any pitch deck? What is the final objective? What's the final objective? Put it on chat, please. Get the next meeting. Yeah. Get people as excited about your startup as you are. Compliment what you're saying to generate interest. Anyone else? Cool. So I think engage people into the conversation. Wonderful, right? So if I were to summarize what I have in my mind and what my friend David from Oregon also said, the only objective of a pitch deck is to make sure that people sit up and say, hey, I like what you're saying. Can we have a conversation? It is a key to the next conversation that you're going to have with the investors or with the audience who you have, and nothing else. And you know why this is so important? Because this will dictate what is it that you're going to talk and what is it that you're not going to talk about. Because a lot of us, we come with the idea that a pitch deck is going to get me investment, and you think that immediately after you do the pitch, people are going to write checks for you. That never happens. It never happens. The only objective that you have to achieve out of that is to spark enough interest that they say, okay, I like what you're saying. Let's meet up over coffee. And the moment you get this perspective into your mind, then automatically your subconscious mind will tell you what to put on your slides and what not to put on your slides. Okay. And as I go along these slides, I would like Dr. Lopez, David, and Amy, if you're still on the call. I think Ratan from Atlanta is also here. You're all investors. So if there is something from an actual investor, and Joyce is also here. If there's something from an actual investor's perspective that you would like to add to what I'm saying, please do pitch in, because I am not an investor. I'm the guy on the other side, right? So I would like you to pitch in, unmute yourself, and probably interrupt me. I think that will be great, so that we have a conversation today. Right, Amy puts it in the same saying that why should I care, right? At the end of the day, why should I care to what you're doing? And that's what the pitch deck is all about. So like I said, it has to, I would say it has to achieve either of these reactions, right? Either they say, oh my God, or they say, are you serious? Or they say, wow, I want to talk to you. Or you say, aha, that's like the eureka moment. Or you say, really, 8 women die and there's a vaccine and people are not doing it. Why is someone not doing something about it? Is the question that they will themselves ask. And then you will say, I am the guy who's making that vaccine. Why don't you invest in me and let's save more women? And then your job is done, right? So that's the primary or the only objective of any pitch deck. So what goes into a pitch deck? I'm sorry, all the imagery is Indian, but I think for the sake of diversity, we will use, because there are not many Indians on the call. So we'll use these imageries, right? So slide number 1, and like I said, slide number 1 does not necessarily mean slide number 1. It could mean 3, 4, whatever, but kind of in the same sequence. And slide number 1 could be 4 slides who become 1 also. What I call in my business as the holding slide or the value proposition. Because when you start a presentation, it is not as if the moment you go into the hall, they say, okay, come on, start, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go start. No, you open the slides, you open your laptop, put it up there, and there's something on the screen for people to look at, right? So this is that slide, which without you speaking to it, explains what is the broad vision that your startup is trying to achieve. We are on a mission to ensure no Indian woman dies because of lack of cervical cancer vaccination, as an example, right? That's the broad value proposition or the broad benefit that you are giving to the customers or to the end users, or how are you making the world a better place. Just a couple of lines, very simple, very succinct, to talk about what is the broad, real, huge vision that you're talking about. Or if you really want, like Amy said, why should I care? You can also put it in monetary terms sometimes, saying that an idea that can help convert your million into 200 millions, right? Just for the sake of argument, okay? Now what happens is the audience is sitting up and looking, what is this guy saying? Either they look at saying, this guy is crazy, or either they're saying, wow. But what happens? You have achieved your goal of them sitting up and looking at you and listening to you with interest. That's all that you wanted, right? So try to put in something that can really pique their interest. If that's the right pronunciation, Professor Lopez, P-I-Q-U-E, pique, right? Cool, right? So the value proposition is the first slide. Slide number 2 is the problem, or what is it that the world is missing today and does not have, or what we call as the gap in the services or the solutions that are available in the market. So this kind of tells in a more tangible way what is the exact challenge that people are facing today and the one that you're trying to solve overall in terms of your startup or your business. So most people use the word problem statement, but you do realize that there are a lot of businesses who are not necessarily solving a problem, but who are taking something that's already existing and making it better in some way or the other. So this is the slide that talks about all those things that you want to do to solve, or rather the exact problem that you're trying to solve for people who are going to be the end users of your product. Slide number 3, and this, like I said, could be a slide that comes sometime later on as well, but I prefer to have it here because it kind of brings in the context. So, okay, so let's say in Atlanta, they do not have a particular product, or let's say, let's go back to the vaccine, cervical cancer vaccine, right? So many women in India do not have access to cervical cancer vaccine. Okay, great problem. Now, when I put this in context, saying that there are close to 40 million Indian women who do not have access to cervical cancer, what happens in the mind of Paul and Amy as investors is multiplying that by 40 million. What if I can give it even at $1? So we are going to be earning 40 million. They start doing the mathematics on their own. So this is the one that sets the context of the magnitude of the whole problem, saying that, hey, there's a problem. And there are so many people who have this problem, which is nothing but your customers or users or the potential target market, what in business terms is used as the TAM and the total addressable market and the SOM and the SAM, right? So, but at the end of the day, as a storyteller, all that I want to do is to give context to my audience, saying that, hey, there's a problem, and there are so many people who have this problem. And then what I tell them, now that they have done the mathematical calculation in their mind, I come to the Eureka moment and I say, hey, I have found the solution to all these problems. So now you connect A and B and C and say, okay, there's a problem. B, there are so many people who have the problem, and there's a solution. Wow, I'm happy. I'm interested. Tell me what can we do? Tell me more, right? That's the feeling that's there in the audience's mind. So it's your solution of what your product or service is trying to do is what you articulate here. And the next slide, this again depends upon the depth of your product or service. Give them an insight into what your product or service is doing or your business is doing in a little more detail. But keep in mind, your objective is to only get the second meeting, and your objective is not to explain your whole business to them. So just give them a teaser of from a 30,000 feet view as to what or how your product works. Whether it's a self-testing kit for blood test, or whether it is something like a carbon clothing for rockets. Just give them a teaser into it so that they are able to visualize the whole product or service that you're trying to do. Slide number 6, which is the most important thing that any investor is bothered about. Great, wonderful that women don't have, or rather not wonderful, wonderful that there are so many women who need cervical cancer vaccine and you have the vaccine. But where will the money come from? Will the women pay for it? Will they pay $50 for buying one vaccine? I don't know, right? So then you have to articulate in which forms is the cash going to flow into your company. Are you going to be on a subscription model, or are you going to sell it to the Bill and Melinda Gates foundations of the world and they will go and give it to the women free of cost? What is going to be the way by which you are going to make your money? Is it going to be a subscription model? Is it going to be a per piece model? Is it going to be a monthly retainer? Whatever different ways and means in which your business can make money. This is a very important slide because a lot of students, especially that I see in these competitions, they have great products, but they do not know how to make money out of it, right? So will you make money by giving it as a service like a SaaS, or will you make money by giving it as a one-off thing? You have to find out and articulate it very well. Slide number 7 talks about traction, saying that I am not talking out in the thin air, but I have numbers to prove this. So what is traction? It is nothing but people who are already using your product or service. Many of you, because you're in college, maybe your business is still not taking off, you've still not had customers. You can talk about other users saying that I have built an app which 200 students in my campus have downloaded. So that's your traction, right? So now what happens is there's credibility being built in, saying that it is not just Fatima who's talking about it, but there are 200 people who are also using the product and they have said that it's solving their problem. So that's how credibility gets built in, by talking about traction or number of people who are using it. Slide number 8 is the go-to-market strategy. So what is the go-to-market strategy? It is not digital marketing. It is not putting advertisements in paper. It is not going Google ads. No, those are tactical stuff. Strategic stuff is how are you going to really reach out to the end customer? Like I said in this particular contest, I don't think it is going to be viable for anyone to go and sell those cervical cancer vaccines to every individual woman because they can't afford it. So my go-to-market strategy is to find out all the Bill and Melinda Gates foundations of the world and the big charities who are working for the cause of women and who will be ready to spend money and reach out to them in whatever form I want, right? Then you articulate some of the tactical stuff, saying that I will probably do one-on-one meetings, or I will put some advertising, or I will put up chains, or I will go and work with a network that already has 100 retail outlets. So all that I have to do is to place my product on their shelves, and it'll start being visible to audiences. So slide number 8 is the go-to-market strategy. And my friend Ravi is very happy because I put in a Gujarati word which is read Kemcho, which means hey, how are you in Gujarati. I think Vinish also has a twinkle in his eyes. Vinish, are you a Guju as well from Boston?
I'm actually from Kerala.
Oh, okay. Malayali. Cool. Then the slide that says that, hey, wonderful. So it's a great concept. It's a great product. It's a great service. But why should you be the people who should run this business, or you be the team that I want to invest in? And this slide is not about putting photographs of your team members, all of you hanging out in your college canteen or with mugshots. But the slide is more to tell what is it that each one of you in your team brings onto the table to make this business more successful. My first few ventures were failures because I did not have the right co-founders, because I was trying to do everything, and you can do everything, but you should not do everything, right? Get in people who can be specialists in finance, people who are specialists in marketing, people who are specialists in operations. Probably you can juggle 2 roles, but not all roles. So the idea of this slide is to reiterate in the mind of the audience, saying that your team is the right team to do it. 1, in the composure of the team. 2, in the experience of the team as well. Let's say, for example, Jade says that I and my team have PhDs in this particular product that we're trying to do. We also have patented it, and the patent is with us. So we think we are the right person suited to take this forward and make it a commercial product or a business. Slide number 10.
Before you
Yes,
continue, Pradeep, I would like to emphasize the importance of that slide you just did, team. Team is more important than idea. I think that should be clear. The idea is a good thing that you do, but a team is more important. A team and concepts are more important than the idea, if you go by sequence of importance.
Absolutely.
I would build that too as well. So in my other life, of course, we screen and for large international companies, and we have to commercialize them. We base our decision on team. We probably weighted 60 to 70%. So we've passed on really good companies, and their product and offering is really, really good. But we said the team really affected that decision.
Right. Dr. Lopez, probably you can add to that statement that you sent me on chat. But yeah, primarily, sometimes you cannot have the whole team. And how do you supplement that? By bringing in the right people from outside who could be investors, who could be advisors to your company, and they plug in those gaps that you find missing in the team. Dr. Lopez, you want to add to that? You're on mute. Phrase of the century.
Many times the single slide would have the team, there, a few bullets about each person's background. This person worked at Procter & Gamble in marketing, whatever. And on the bottom, because given that you're still young in your own experience, you may have 3 advisors, and this person has, was the person who worked at Apple and or did the following and or has a chemical engineering degree, knowing that your college-oriented team may not be as strong as a team of co-founders and advisors.
Absolutely. And like I said, it's an opportunity for you, like on this call as well, to see if you can find someone from a different country or a different state or a city who could plug in that gap that you are missing right now. Maybe you are great technologically, but maybe you're missing the marketing guy in your team. So try to focus on the team slide, so that it becomes better. Let me get back to my.
And Pradeep, perhaps we should also say this, that when you do your pitch, take a member of the team that may be able to do better than the founder when it comes to presentation. You should keep that in mind.
Right. Absolutely. So that's the team. In fact, a lot of presentations on investment will always end with a slide that investors invest in the team and not the product or service. The metaphor that I like to give is I want to invest in the jockey and not the horse, because the horse could become disabled anytime, but I know if the jockey is great, I give him any horse and he will make it run. I don't know whether it's a good example, but yeah, that's kind of right now I'm binge watching Yellowstone, which is a series series that talks about the Wild West. So it's horses on my mind. My friend from Dallas also puts in a chat saying a good team will react well to changes in the market conditions. Yeah, when you have a strong team, then you can pivot irrespective of what happens in the market. What we call as black swan events, right? Events that you never imagined. Nassim Tayyab, or that's the name of the author. He's written about black swan events, and we think that the world will never change and everything will be great. And here we are right in the middle of a pandemic, which no one ever imagined could change the whole way the whole world has been affected. Brilliant.
And Pradeep, if you are into the chat, maybe Craig's question, there is no question mark. Is it a question, Craig? But I think the answer is yes, if that's a question.
Can the founder communicate and make me want to continue the conversation using a medium like video? Yes, Craig, it's like the trailers of the movie. Why do you watch the movie? There's a trailer and you feel excited. Wow, there's so many great things. And then you want to go and watch the movie. So I think videos are a good way, especially in a context like this competition where maybe the judge is from a different country and he or she doesn't understand the context. So if you can visually show them something, it'll be great. In this competition, we have requested all of you to actually submit a 90-second video, which can be a video where you can really, bring in the passion part of your thought process about this business, which I will talk about sometime later on as well. So the numbers slide is basically either articulating projected numbers based on what you think is the future. If you already have a business, then you project numbers based on how your business is going to grow. But it is not like a full spreadsheet that you copied from Excel and pasted. Just put the broad numbers, total sales, what is the total revenue, what will be the net profit, and what will be my EBITDA. That's all. Or how many customers will I have over the next 5 months, 6 months, 10 months, 12 years, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, kind of plotting. Earlier, yes, I mean.
Something here just quickly, because this is usually one of the weakest areas outside of value proposition. So I get startups all the time. It says, oh, I don't want to do this. I don't provide too much information because I'm going to get it wrong. And then, people are really going to grill me and I don't want to seem like I'm lying. I have all sorts of stories. The reason why this is in here for either investors or people that are looking to help you with your company is I just want to see your thinking behind it. I look at things from an engineering standpoint, P50, you're just as likely to be right as to be wrong. And I'm going to have in my own sense of the numbers and I'm going to run them. That's different from yours. So I just want to see how you're thinking about approaching managing your business, because this is just an outcome of all of your operational kind of performance markets, all of everything that goes into your business. So don't be scared to do this part and at least put some thinking behind these numbers.
Right. And I think more often than not, we do meet startups and in fact, real startups as well as student startups who are shy of giving away data thinking that people will copy. Okay, trust me, if someone has to copy it, they will copy it, whatever you do. And it's not that you're going to share your idea and people are just immediately going to go and copy it. There are, like I said, they have to have the team and they cannot do it without your team. In my context, I always give out my PowerPoint slides to everyone who wants it because I know without me, these slides don't mean anything. People can copy them, do whatever they want to do it. It'll mean nothing. And that's the trust you have to have in your product or your service as well, and put the numbers in there. And like Amy said very rightly, I also want to understand whether you're giving me bullshit or have you really thought through the numbers. The typical thing that I've seen people is they are super optimistic. First year, 100 products sold. Second year, 1,000. Third year, 10,000. Fourth year, 100,000. I was a salesman way back in 95 when I was doing my first year of engineering. I used to knock on doors of people every day, 400 houses every single day, trying to sell a table lamp that used to come from Canada. And then in those years, anything that comes up from outside India was a fancy stuff and people buy them. But in a week, after having done 6 days of a week, 400 people, 2,400 houses, how many table lamps would I have sold? 2 or 3. That is the success ratio of sales and selling things to people. So don't just give numbers thinking that, wow, everything is great, gung-ho, optimistic, something will happen. You cannot. You have to have validation for those numbers. And that is what Amy meant by saying that I really want to see whether the numbers you're giving is good. And then I will run it on my own. No one is going to listen to you and just take it without a pinch of salt. They will take it without a pinch of salt. But if your line of thinking is right, they will try to help you saying that, hey, here, I think you just need to tweak it a little bit so that it's much more better kind of thing. Super. Slide number 11 is primarily talking about, or I just need 0.1% of 100 billion market. Yes, yes, Satyajit. That's also the common thing. There is 100 million people, so all I need is 0.1%. But when you put that 0.1% into context, you realize what the number is, right? The entry barrier is nothing but great idea, great business, but what stops anyone else from doing this, right? So an entry barrier could be your patent, but trust me, patents are also not great entry barriers because there's always loopholes beyond patents and people can find different ways to outrun patents. What you primarily need to talk about it is how far in the journey you are and how far behind others will be in this journey. Let's say, for example, you've been doing this for 3 years. You can confidently tell that anyone else who comes into it has to spend at least 2 years. By then, I already have a 5-year lead and my company will be doing great. I will have competition. There will be people selling the same product, but I can be better than them because I have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, whatever kind of thing. So try to articulate the different things. Yes, David?
I would like to add, that's true. You should not only have one USP. Many people say we are cheaper than the competition. That will not suffice on the long run. I think you should have more than one USPs. Maybe if you're a producer of a certain type of products, then yours are more sustainable. Yours are original. There are a lot of fakes in the world, and so on and so forth. Make sure that you have possibly more than one USP.
Awesome. Thank you, David, for bringing that, because as a salesman all my life, I have realized that price can never be your value proposition, because all that it takes for your competitor to price $2 lesser than you, and then your customers are all moving there. You can never stop that. It will become a rat race. But when you start talking about values and value propositions and certain edges that only you can do, then you can actually give a premium to your product. And I know that because I'm right now doing a business where in the last 2 years, after having worked on my own value proposition, I'm billing my customers 10x what I was billing to them 2 years ago. And I get paid for that, and I get better customers as well. What do you mean by the competition? It could be direct competition, people who are doing the same product or the service of the business as you are. It could also be indirect competition. And the worst nightmare for any investor or any audience is to hear someone say, I do not have competition. I am the only unique atom in the world. I have just come down from the sky and no one else is doing what I'm trying to do. Never happens. Never, ever happens. When I started Presentim 11 years ago, I thought I am the only presentation design company in my country. And after a couple of months, I just went to Google on a whim and I searched, and there were 142 people doing the same business that I was doing, thinking that I was the only person. So don't ever think you do not have competition. And it's kind of the craziest statement you can make, because investors know you will always have competition. Maybe direct, maybe indirect. I always like to give the example of an electric bike. The competition for an electric bike in the initial years of the EV bikes coming to India, people thought that it's the petrol-driven bikes or the heavy, powerful bikes which are the competition. They're not the competition, because someone who's buying that motorbike will not buy an electric bike which goes at a much slower speed, which does not make any noise, nothing. So the real competition for an electric bike is the guy who's using public transport, is the guy who's walking to the office and who wants to shift to something that is a little more comfortable. So that is where you need to bring in the context of your competition and articulate it to the investors. Again, one common thing that I find, even with startups which are very mature in their journey, they try to tone down this competition slide. You will see one box table with all ticks for their company and their product, but only 1 or 2 ticks for all the other competitions, right? They will very conveniently remove all the things where they do not have something in that category. And investors can look through it. People who with experience can easily look through it. It is okay to tell that you have a lot of competition, because trust me, the more competition you have, the more validation that your business is actually something good and something that can make money. If you tell there's no competition, which means the next question is, why hasn't anyone ever done it then? Probably something's wrong with your idea or your business, right? So go ahead and articulate your competition in a genuine way, and try to show what is your value proposition by which you will overcome that. And finally, as the image there says, putting your hands up in the air front and saying, please give me money, right? The fund ask. So for you as collegiate entrepreneurs, maybe not relevant, but relevant in the context saying that if you want to take your business from college to the next level to reality, what is the kind of fund that you would need? And more importantly, what are you going to do with that money? Okay, I don't want to tell you, I don't want you coming and telling me that you need 10 million. I want you to tell me, what are you going to do with the 10 million? And how is it going to help your company become a company that is having a turnover of 5 million to a company that has a turnover of 500 million, right? So again, a slide where a lot of students, collegiate entrepreneurship, try to blow it up or are very shy asking for big numbers. Recently, we had a demo day in India with startups which were like 2 or 3 years mature, but with collegiate entrepreneurs as the founders. And one of them asked a fundraise of 50 million Indian rupees. And immediately the other judge says that I can give you a calculation right now that without 500 million Indian rupees, you cannot do anything that you're talking about. right? Because inherently, for some odd reason, some of us are shy asking for big numbers of money as well. And some of us are bombastic that we ask really huge numbers that people run helter-skelter and are scared from us. So try to moderate, give a logical reasoning why you need that money, what that money will do, where will you use the money, and articulate it here. And maybe Amy and Dr. Lopez need to validate the statement of mine, which I've understood from a lot of my startups, is that mostly investors don't fund working capital. If you are asking for money to run your business on a day-to-day basis, most investors do not want to do that. Amy, your thoughts on that, and Dr. Lopez, your thoughts as well on that.
Yeah, no, they fund the working capital, right? So that's part of your equation. So I want to see, as an investor, that's the big question, is of the money that you're asking me, how much of it is going to have to be going to your overhead and your working capital and other things? And then how much of that, the remainder, is going to really go into the development of your company, right? In terms of your technology, roadmap and staircase, right? So I want to see that you're asking for enough money. And if you're not going to have too many, I may not like the way your cost profile looks. I'm going to make some suggestions there. I'll let Dr. Paul jump in.
You're on mute again.
Hit it twice. Very simple rule. Rather than speak to this, I'm going to ask all of you to think of one question. Okay, what are you trying to convince? We've said that you want to convince them to have a conversation, but let's say you had 2 or 3 conversations. What's the one thing I, as an investor, need to get comfortable about? One thing. There's only one, by the way. When I say it, you're going to go, duh. But whether it's in this slide, another slide, your operations, your team, the jockey, all of those things, there's one thing I want to get comfortable to write you a check. It's only one. Put some answers in chat, we'll watch. But Pradeep, I do also want you to end with just a quick glance through of the blue book, because I think many of the questions coming up tell me the students are not aware of it. So in fact, I'm going to put it into.
You're on mute again, Paul.
I'm not touching anything, so I do not know how it
Pradeep is doing from afar.
I think he thinks I'm talking too much. Okay. So here's the answer. I haven't seen many chat answers. I want to know how I'm going to get my money back. Convince me that I'm going to meet a certain threshold, 3x, 4x, 5x in a reasonable time frame. If that whole story convinces me, and by the way, all of the pitching is going to be as if you're in front of a panel of judges / who act as investors. You've got to convince people that this is a good deal to put money in, and there's a reasonably high chance of getting my money back. I think you call it ROI, but to be real. And by the way, I would later on in a fundraising workshop, we'll cover what that means. But
Sure.
Back to you, Pradeep, because I know.
Cool. Okay, so that's the 12 slides that ideally kind of make the structure, and because the baker's dozen has some additionals, so I am putting the 13th and 14th slides as additionals. Some things that you can actually carry along as your appendix to validate certain things that you said. You don't have to have them in the slides. One could be the exit strategy, because this is a collegiate entrepreneurship program. I'm not very sure how relevant an exit strategy might be for many of you who are just starting your journey. But the idea is, it's not exiting the business, but it is how do you exit someone like Paul who's put in his money. So will you go the IPO route, or will you go like an M&A route, or will you buy out Paul's shares and give him an exit into the company? Kind of articulate that as to what is it that you visualize or you envision as the founder. The next thing is partnerships, which will you will be able to articulate better when you do the business model canvas workshop next week. As to there are certain things that your company cannot do, and you will be dependent on someone else. It could be, for example, you will have to depend on a logistics business for delivering your product to the end customer. So which are those key partnerships? Articulate them. You do not necessarily have to have them on the main slides, have them in your appendix. And if you have a demo or a partially working demo of your product, then also have that in your appendix. But if you have a fully functional working product that's there in the market, I would always say probably start off with that as the first thing, because there's nothing like the real deal, right? hey, this is the product. I will show you how my users are using it, see how happy they are. And now I would like to tell you more about this product. So that kind of is the ultimate validation of anything that you have. So if you have a really running demo or a product, show the demo, start off with the demo, and then move on to the final product. Certain things that you can carry along as a printed sheet or as a PDF document, an executive summary, which is more of a wordy document that talks more about your business in words. Some financial models based on good numbers, bad numbers, really bad numbers, extraordinarily good numbers, some different models. Many of us who are entrepreneurs commonly have this challenge that we are handicapped when it comes to financials and financial modeling. So my advice is go and try to sit with a person who's a financial management expert who understands finances, not an accountant. Let me warn you, accountants are postmortem people. They take numbers and they do postmortem after everything has happened. Whereas financial managers are people who help you with strategy. So sit with them, especially when your chapters are going to give you mentors, sit with them and understand that, because commonly we have seen that that is kind of the biggest Achilles heel for most startups is the financial part, because you are as an entrepreneur trying to solve problems, but numbers always seems to be, I don't know why, a struggle, right? But the bottom line is, whatever you do it with passion. Hi, my name is Pradeep. Today I'm going to give you some insights into a mind-making, breaking product that can change the world. So I am telling you something, but my tone and my body language is telling something else. Show the passion in the way you talk about the product. Tell me that this is something that you eat, sleep, and breathe, that this is life for you, and that I can put my money on you. I can rest assured that even if things go deep down into shit, you will still come out. You will make shit into manure and you will come out growing bigger and bigger and stronger. That's what I want. So show that passion. And here in the context of this competition, because the evaluation will be done by a jury member who may not see you, who will only see the pitch deck that you're sending, the way you can show that actual passion is probably through the 60-second or 90-second video that you're attaching, and also with some of the words that you're articulating. But be warned, don't give flowery words and optimistic words and making a real dent into the universe like my friend Steve Jobs said. Yes, we want to do that, but be pragmatic and try to give something more relevant. And probably as my closing points, this is one of my favorite slides. I made it 10 years ago about the Taj Mahal with a beautiful drawing, and my friend Fatima is laughing away. I don't know why. Beautiful slide about Taj Mahal, nice drawing, a lot of good words about Taj Mahal, and I love the colors on that. If I were to show you this and invite you to go visit the Taj Mahal, would you do that? Would you? All of you are shaking your head. No, right? Now, your word. Moral of the story, presentation matters. You can be the extraordinarily most brilliant idea in the world, but if you don't present it rightly, the world will not appreciate it. So you will have to put in efforts to present it well, present it in a way that the audience understands it, present it aesthetically as well, as much as possible that you know from your design skills, as visually as possible, so that anyone sitting in any corner of the world can understand what you are trying to articulate. And like I said, because this competition, one of the rounds will be of judges looking at your pitch deck and evaluating you. So I would tell you that it is better you submit a pitch book. A pitch book is nothing but a small tweak over a pitch deck. A pitch deck is more visual. A pitch book is kind of more verbose with a little bit more content that explains each slide. Okay, so that's something that can help the person sitting on the other end understand. The easiest way to do that is probably either if you go to PowerPoint, let me do that. I'll show you a tactical way also as to do it. So on PowerPoint, when you do the print, you have the option of the notes page. So the slide will come here and you can put all the notes here. So whatever notes you put in here will come there. So this could be like the script that you would normally talk. If you can add that a couple of lines so that people can understand, because tables by themselves may not mean anything. Algorithms by themselves may not mean anything. Architecture drawings by themselves may not mean anything. Patents by themselves may not mean anything, because the other person doesn't understand what you're trying to say. So probably add a few lines. Don't make it an essay. Don't make it too long because the person will be bored. But try to have a couple of words, at least for the first part of this competition, because it is a document that will be seen and evaluated, and you may not be actually pitching it as well. But mark my words, Please check with your local chapter how it's going to work out. If they say that all of you will have to pitch it in front of an audience, don't bother time and effort trying to put a pitch book in place. Just make a pitch deck. Why I call it a pitch deck and a pitch book? Because a pitch deck, ideally on a slide, should have only something that your audience can see for 3 seconds, not more than 3 seconds. Your audience should look at the slide for 3 seconds and they should turn their attention back to you. I am the hero. I am the presenter. I am the hero here. You have to look at me and listen to what I'm saying and not my slides. 3 seconds, if you can articulate everything that you want in those 3 seconds, that itself is a rule of thumb that will tell you what to put in the slide and what not to put in the slide. And the one who's able to do that is someone who has really understood what he or she is saying. Why do people put a lot of text on their slides? Because they are not confident about what they're talking about and they want something to be there as a standby so they can read out of it. I don't want you to read out of it. You save your time, give me a printout and I will read it at my own leisure, right? So that's what I wanted to do. Before we move into the breakout rooms and I run through the thing, I would like you to just take a few seconds or a minute to fill up this form. Aryan, can you post the form on the chat? The idea is for us to understand what is it that you have learned. Oops. No, sorry, that's not the form. Aryan, can you put the form here, please? Here's the form. You just take a couple of minutes to just fill up the form with your feedback on the session. Then I can move on to the open room where we can talk about the competition in specific and the entrepreneurship in general as well. Right. So for a second, I will stop.
Pradeep, I think people are asking some questions that tell me they do not have the blue book. Could you take, in your wonderful way, 60 seconds to pop it on the screen? Because I have a feeling people don't recognize what a wonderful compendium it is. So,
right. I will pull it out right now as people are filling their forms. it.ly/TIU blue book. Here we go.
And then some questions. We will stay on and open up an optional Q&A time to some very specific great.
Oh, we still have quite a lot. It's supposed to be a 2-hour workshop, so we still have time. And Ajay, if there's something that you would also like to add based on some of the slides that I spoke about from your perspective, please do pitch in, Ajay.
Yeah, I think the best part about your presentation today, Pradeep, was that really a lot of the stuff that you talk about is obviously plugged in back with the business model canvas. So if you look at it in the reverse way, any business has to actually create the business model canvas, and then those are the inputs that really will go into the pitch deck subsequently. I think there's a lot of synergy in terms of what you covered today. I'm sure that they will now value the business model canvas so much more now as they understand that this is what is required to be put into the pitch deck. So thank you for a wonderful session.
For me as a person who comes from the design industry, I think the reason the business model canvas works because it's a visual form. Because everything is usually in our minds, but the moment you see it on paper and pen, then you see, oh my God, I did not even think of this, right? So that's what the business model canvas is all about. So as you guys are filling in that pitch, the feedback form, I'll pull up the blue book on my, let me download it for a second so that I can.
The form is the one that you've put in called
Yes.
https://form.gle, right? That's the one we're asking everybody to fill in, please. Yeah, good.
Okay, download
please, if you've been any attendee, whether you're a coach, a chapter member, a student team member, faculty member, please take all of 120 seconds to complete the form. May not even take you that long.
Cool. Hello. Fatima, can you give me a thumbs up to show that the blue screen is visible? Cool, wonderful. So this is the blue book, fancy name that we have given to a document that's kind of a handbook that can tell you everything that you need to know about this competition with an asterisk marks. Conditions apply. It's getting constantly updated and there are a lot of new things coming in. It is available for you at bit.ly/TIU blue book. Primarily, it talks to you about the competition. What is it the TIU University program is all about? What is it that you are going to get as winners or participants of the competition? The intangible benefits that you're going to get being part of the competition, the tangible benefits that you're going to get part of the competition, a little bit about what TIE is, a little bit about what the TIE University ecosystem is, how the journey is, Then more into the tactical part of the competition. So like I said, December to Jan is the team formation. Feb to March is where at the chapter level, you will be mentored. When I mean mentoring, it means working with entrepreneurs one-on-one who will give you a lot of insights that may maybe tell you to go back to the drawing board and redo your whole business or pivot your idea based on a lot of things. Again, take it with a pinch of salt. Don't immediately react. Talk to a couple of more people and see if what they're saying fits into your goal and your vision. But the idea is be coachable. Don't be adamant that I have an idea and what I'm saying is 100% true. Whatever you're saying is not true. That doesn't work out, right? So this gives you a calendar. It also gives you an insight into how the registration process works. So in case any of your friends have still not registered, ask them to register. The forms are here, an insight into different chapters which are participating in the competition. Most of you have already chosen the chapter. Some of you maybe moved on to a different chapter because the geographical chapter where you are participating from is not part of the competition. So we will put into a chapter that will help you with mentoring as well. There is this folder called the TIU Pitch Fest folder, which is a link that takes you to this folder where you have different workshops, reading material about pitches, examples from past teams that have won this competition, past finalists from the competition. How do you build an elevator pitch, a business plan summary, a business model canvas, learning material about that. How the competition works. There may be a filtering process depending upon which chapter you are from. Some chapters have like 200 registrations, so they may actually evaluate and only bring in 24 people to be part of the final cohort. How mentoring works and what is mentoring really in the context of TIE University. What are the different kinds of education that you need? What is going to be the final pitching format? It will be 7 to 10 minutes of Q&A depending again on the chapter. But at the global level, it will be mostly 8 minutes of pitching and 6 minutes of Q&A or 5 minutes. We will address that by mail to you sometime soon. A little bit about the pricing. And like I said, how are you going to be evaluated? What is the weightage for each of those criteria so that you can know how the judges are going to score you? What does each criteria mean articulated here? And then there's a knowledge section, which
Pradeep, go back just 2 slides and point out that there are 2 documents. That's why we're doing these workshops, right? The business model canvas. Yeah.
Right. So when there's a screening process going to happen, it will happen based on 2 documents. One is your pitch deck / pitch book, and the other one is the business model canvas, because that kind of will help a person without meeting you in person to understand what your business is all about and to decide whether you move to the next round or you not move to the next round. So try to spend a lot of time and effort understanding what I spoke today, and also make sure you attend next week's workshop with Ajay and understand how the business model works. And then there's a knowledge section where you have things about the business model canvas. This is what the business model canvas is. It's a visual representation. There are free templates available online. You can go and download them. There's a video that we have linked here as a link. You can click on it and go and read it. Maybe you can do it after Ajay's session so that you are kind of coming in with an open mind. Then templates for the business plan summary, which is nothing but a verbose document that talks about your business plan, but in a very summarized manner in 2 or 3 pages. Whatever I spoke today is here on this link called as the pitch guide. So everything that I spoke to you about, all the slides are there, and the explanations for each of those slides are here in the next slide with some subtle examples that I have put in for you to understand each of those contexts. So it's like a 43-page document that can kind of help you understand everything that you need. And I've kind of put one visual form here so you can see everything that's there. Some things that every college startup should know or should ask mentors. 6 things that we felt are necessary for every startup to function efficiently. We have articulated it here. If you get those answers in these 2 workshops, great. If you do not get, reach out to your local chapter, irrespective of the competition. Because like we said, we are not a competition, we are an ecosystem. We want to help everyone who wants to be an entrepreneur in the best way possible. So go ahead and ask them. If you're struggling with IP rights, go ahead and ask someone like in Germany. I think there's a lawyer who's on the charter member board who can probably help you with how do you file your patent and what do you need to do. Or someone like Amy who can help you on understanding how do you scale up, right? So those are things that you can actually ask mentors to get. There's some little insights into the competition and how it has evolved with some numbers from the past competition. These are all the finalists, the bright young minds from last year. The girl who was the winner of the TIE University competition also went on to become the 3rd runner-up with the TIE Women competition in Dubai, which was
Second.
Second. Was it second? Yeah, second. Yeah, first
Yeah.
runner-up. First runner-up, right? So that's how it's like a logical progression. All the winners, some of the winners of last year were recently part of something we call as the Demo Day West, which is where they raise funds, and I think we are close to getting those 4 startups funded close to $5 million in real funding. So from idea to investment is the whole journey, and that's where Thai University is going to be. We also have the social media handles here. As they would say on all those TV serials, please go there and like us and share us and follow us and keep in touch with us. I would like to take this opportunity also to thank Algorand and Upgrad, who are our annual sponsors, whose monies help us make these sessions happen, and my company, Presentum and AWS. I'm really narcissistic. Okay, cool. So that's done. That's the blue book. Thank you so much. Now I'll remove myself on Spotlight, and we can get into any questions and Q&A. You can ask Q&A questions about the competition, questions about startups, entrepreneurship, whatever. We are open. Let me put all the senior gentlemen and ladies on Spotlight so they can answer these questions. Yeah. Let me put Ajay also. Ajay, if you can start your video, I can put you on Spotlight. I'll put David also on Spotlight. I
When
put
people
Joyce.
start asking their questions, has everybody had an opportunity? They can all ask questions real time, right? Both
Yeah, they can unmute. They can unmute. Now you can unmute and ask questions. It's better. Or maybe let me make it easier, like a professor. Put your hands up, and I will call out your name, and then you can unmute. So that's much better. So yeah.
I have one question already, so nobody forgets, because we'll start to see people drop. You started something called a WhatsApp or set of groups. Why should the students and coaches join, and how do they do that? Because not everybody uses WhatsApp. This is a good time to give them your perspective.
So full disclosure, Facebook is not supporting us financially, and we are not promoting WhatsApp. But we have found that WhatsApp is a good real-time tool to communicate one-on-one and propagate messages. So we have sent you links. If you haven't got those links yet, I'll put them on the chat. You can join one of those WhatsApp groups. There are 7 groups. One is already subscribed. We have kind of tried to partition so that there are more relevant stuff. And it also comes at a time zone when you are awake. So group number 6 and 7 are oriented towards the West. So those of my friends who are in Europe and the US, you can join group 6 and 7. Those of you who are in Asia, you can join groups from 1 to 7. Let me see if I can pull them up here. And what we will be doing on the WhatsApp group is just giving communication on a very global level. But for anything that you want to do at the local chapter level, you will have to reach out to the chapter. We'll also give you some contact details of the chapter. When you registered, you would have got a mail with CCs to multiple people. Those are the people whom you need to get in touch to take things forward. They will anyway reach out to you proactively in some time, and then you can ask them. Let me put the links here somewhere.
Then I also got a question.
Go ahead, Ravi.
Yeah, the question came directly to me, but it basically said, do all the team members have to be college students, or can some of my team members be professionals?
The answer to that is at least one member of the team. We prefer the team lead, but that is really a decision at the local level. At least one member of the team must be currently enrolled in college or have graduated within the last 2 years at any level, undergrad, grad, postgrad, etc. Okay. And we prefer that that person acts as the team lead, but again, that we want them to be an integral part, right? So that's the intent. And teams can be.
There was one common question as well in the afternoon when we did the Asia session is, can my team have people from other colleges as well? Yes, most welcome. You can do that. In fact, we right now have one team which has one person from UC Berkeley, one from Stanford, and I think the other person from Harvard. It's kind of like a creme de la creme team.
But I don't want to frighten anybody. We've had teams from little old state universities beat teams at Stanford before. So don't worry. Those,
yeah. The Ivy League is something that you can beat as well, right? So Soumya has asked a question saying that there are a lot of undergraduate participating. Even if you're a doctorate, so you are a student in any form, you can be a graduate, you can be a undergraduate, you can be a postgraduate, you can be a doctorate student. You are eligible to participate. One person from the team has to be in college right now, or should have graduated from the latest degree or diploma after Jan 2009. That's the.
Pradeep, there was a question in the chat. Sorry, Paul. Go ahead.
Once again, let me open chat for everyone. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. You can start.
That was Kamlesh asking which is better idea to provide the total fund requirement for the market launch and acquire at least 100 to 1,000 of customers, or to provide fund in select sections like requirements for prototype, develop, MVP launch, and then product launch. Is that too specific for this round?
I think it's
say, David,
something that
might
they're
want
meant
to,
to.
Yeah, you may be the mentor and or you, and I think that's from your chapter student.
Yes, yes.
So I think it's a good question to handle directly.
So I have a
I
question.
say you want to ask your question to everybody rather than just to me. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, someone asked me a direct question. I'm just going to read it.
Oh, sorry, that's my bad, because I had blocked people from chatting to everyone and only to the host and host. So that's why you're getting those messages. Yeah, go ahead.
Right?
Now they can text everyone. Yeah.
Okay, the question was, I don't have my full team yet. Right now, it's just friends, family, and advisors. Any suggestions on how they could establish their full team? And this is someone from the West.
Ask that again, Ravi, on their behalf.
So they don't have a full team yet. They're looking for people to join their team. They just have friends right now. They're asking for suggestions on how they can network with one another. I think the answer is the WhatsApp group is maybe a way to start.
Group
right?
would be one, and I think you're typically part of a chapter. What chapter are you at where you're asking this question from?
This person's from Atlanta. This one's from Atlanta.
Give him Paul's address.
Fine, we'll help. Yeah, we've got a happy hour this coming Thursday over at Cobb County. So, right, Sebastian?
Yes, sir. I'm really excited for
it. Yeah, there's like 70 signups there, so who knows? So that's a good place.
Great opportunity.
May I also request the chapter champions from each chapter to probably put your email ID on the chat, so people who are in the local geography can reach out to you as well. So Houston can reach out to Ravi and Amy, and then New York can reach out to Craig. Portland and Oregon can reach to David. So they'll put their email IDs.
It's actually Joy and Jai.
Yeah, sure.
I'm just sitting here on their behalf.
He's the boss.
So
the guy who writes the text.
Yeah, Carson from Atlanta / the Carolinas is saying, what's a WhatsApp group? Or what's the WhatsApp group? I'm not sure how to present your question, Carson.
That's a good one.
I have put the links on the chat, Carson, and I'm putting them again here. So you can click one of those links and join the WhatsApp group. Yeah.
Think of it as text messaging on steroids. That's what I tell you. It's group text messaging with incredible capabilities. Use it as the tool to actually interact with people across chapters, right?
Or it's the way Facebook leverages the billion population that we have in India, and then people in their own country don't use it. That's wonderful.
Yeah, good. I see people putting stuff in here. There was another question a moment ago. David from Oregon. I think this may be more of a local specific item that you put in chat to me. So you want to either state it, unmute yourself.
Sorry, Dr. Lopez, to stop you. Only the chapter champions to put your email IDs. I don't want the participants to put your email IDs there. Just the chapter champions. People from Thai, please put your email IDs there. So those will be the email IDs to which you can connect to. Right?
David Smith, was that your question about ownership?
Yeah, Paul. I mean, from the standpoint of, we've had a couple of teams that come through that have had all either faculty members and people that are outside of the campus or the university, but they have 1 or 2 students participating with them. We've actually used the ownership criteria for some of those as far as where they are from the maturity aspect. So
I think that we do not require it globally, but I think that really is I think well thought through specific requirement. Yeah.
Yeah, from the intent aspect, right? As far as intent.
We've given everybody some emails for different places, right? Want to make sure we're answering other people's questions now that they can all, okay. Answering their questions. Can we join the next webinar. Eugene, is that?
You can unmute yourself and ask the questions as well.
Yeah, we're a small enough group now to interact. Yeah, so the answer, I don't know if Eugene's your name or you're from Eugene, Oregon. But
hi everyone, my name's Ian Winbrock. I use he, him. Yep, I'm from Eugene, Oregon, and my question is related to the next webinar on the business model canvas. So for us on the West Coast of the United States, for the webinar that was designated for the USA, it would be at 6:30 a.m. And I'm wondering if it's possible for us to join the Asia cohort, because that would be from noon to 2 p.m.
The answer is your fee will double, Ian. So instead of paying $0, you will still pay $0, but you can attend either session.
Great, I'll wire the
Much like
Bitcoin
in
directly
fact,
to you.
Awesome. I will send you my digital wallet shortly. The answer is actually, there were a couple here from India joining, and we offered one for them earlier. So the answer is all sessions, when we offer two, we try to make it convenient, but it's almost impossible otherwise, right? Singapore to West Coast of US is impossible to cover otherwise. Feel free to sign up and then show up. Joyce, I know you mentioned, Joyce is an attorney here with one of the largest law firms, etc. I think it's worth a 1-minute version of IP only because people don't know what they don't know, right? And at least in terms of US law, speak for just a minute or two, because we'll do a separate workshop on IP and legal and so on later. But so just give them a key do and don't, right?
the key don't, which I mentioned in chat, when Pradeep had mentioned that he basically mass distributes his pitch deck. Pitch decks are technically protect. I'm a U.S. lawyer, so I've got to approach it as a lawyer. And so there's two reasons it's probably not a good idea. First, it really is protected. People will copy, but in the U.S., it's copyrighted. And whether you've got a copyright notice on it or not, so it's a protected thing. So I wouldn't just be throwing it around. But there's one specific thing I've seen over the years in judging that people don't understand, and the answer is going to be different from the US to India. And it came up in the global competition last year. But in the US, if what you're describing in your pitch deck is a novel idea that can be subject to a patent, first, in the US, it's the race to your laptop to file. So anybody listening can file a patent on what you just described. More probable risk is that people don't realize that as pitches have become more public, and COVID sort of helped all of that happen more, that student team can be starting a 1-year deadline running from the time they make their pitch to when they have to file their patent, or it's not novel anymore. That's in the US. It's even more extreme in India. And we had one team there, and I don't know the answer, who felt like they had gotten advice that they couldn't describe their idea in any detail at all, even though they had a patent application pending. And that's just something, it's serious. It affects students with their idea and whether or not they lose their idea from what we're telling them to do. So that's my 2 cents. That's the thing to avoid. Just
Good deal.
I wouldn't send my pitch deck around as much as Pradeep would, especially if it's got a patent idea in it. That's it.
Yeah, true.
And we
Fully agree
will
with
work
that.
on future. We will work on other workshops at a local level. We're doing these 2 or 3. So thank you, Joyce.
Thank you.
Joyce is one of our wonderful coaches. In fact, Jade, stay on, because I think, and by the way, Jade, your question sounds simple, but it could be that you don't own the patent and Valdosta State University does and all of that. So stay on, and maybe we can in a future meeting do it, or Joyce might be able to help you offline shortly. Other questions?
Also, probably one more input based on what we had discussed in the afternoon in the Asia cohort is that from now on till 31st of March, your primary contact will be the local chapter or the local competition. The global team will not be involved as actively as we are today and in the next workshop. All your questions should be pointed to the local chapter. If you do not know who to reach out, go and check the mail that you received when you registered for the competition. It has CC marked to all the people from the local chapter. If at all you don't find it, just go to google.com and find out the local chapter name and try to touch base with them, or send a mail to tiupc22@gmail.com or to university@tai.org, and we will guide you to the person whom you need to touch with. Because practically it's not possible for us to manage 2,800 people. So
awesome. I think we can end the recording and call an end to the official workshop, and then stay on and answer anything or help anybody with questions.